Welcome to episode 37 of the Prosperity on Air podcast. I'm your host, Paola De Vescovi, and today we're going to have a very interesting conversation with my guest. When we recorded this episode, we were in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't know, and we don't know yet how things are going to change, and hence the title that actually my guest suggested for this episode, No More Business as Usual. So lots of changes are going to happen. We are all forced to rethink about the way we are living, the lifestyle we have, the way we do business and how we run our business, the business models that we have chosen, and even if we have a very successful formula, we are maybe required to change the way we do things completely. So I'm very happy to have here with me today for this episode Damien O'Farrell. He's an entrepreneur. He's a global mobility specialist, an expat coach with many years of experience. He offers global mobility programs to assist C-suite executives, VIP talent, and individuals relocating to Italy. Not only, in addition to this, he also provides cutting-edge spousal support, expert coaching, and entrepreneur mentoring with the focus on building and growing a successful business. I can tell you the episode is very interesting. We have really explored the changes, the challenges, the situations that we are experiencing today, the importance also to get in touch with your own emotions, understanding that fear, anxiety, and panic are normal. However, we also have to be able to overcome them, and there is only one way to do that, as you will hear in this episode. So I don't want to say too much about it. So without any further ado, let's listen to the conversation I had with Damien. So hi, Damien. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Paola, for having me.
So as you know, as I told you, I have already said something about you in the intro. But, I would like you to tell in your own words, what you do, what your business is about, and whatever you think it's important to let our audience know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, I work in the field of global mobility, and that means the moving of people around the world. Okay. I work with people directly in Italy, corporate and individuals who are moving to Italy, but also through a very vast network of partners that I have. I can also assist people who are moving to other countries. I'm sort of the quintessential one-stop in that I also couple my global mobility services with some expat coaching. And that basically is assisting people adjust to life in Italy, getting their train on the track, so to speak, if they want to start a business, because it's a very different market from other markets. that they may be used to. So I basically do everything for them from A to Z, okay? Including the relocation, the immigration, and if needed, also some coaching assistance.
While you were speaking, two words appeared in my mind. I visualized these two words, and one is, the ability to adapt, and the other one is change. And I think that these are two words that are keywords also in the situation that we are currently experiencing, where companies and individuals in a way have been forced to look inside themselves or look about their companies and their processes and the services and products that they are delivering and offering, and make changes and adapt to a new situation. So what do you think about that? And I'm sure that also you had to adapt and change in this COVID times.
Yes, well, I agree completely. And I think when the last time we spoke, I kind of describe it as no more business as usual, okay? I think that what you said is absolutely correct in that COVID has forced companies and individuals to look at their model. I would add that it has been going on a little bit even longer than that, okay? I think it's basically been going on since the internet started, okay? That kind of leveled the playing field for everybody, okay? In the sense that, if you, just to give you a humorous example, but back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, if you did a workshop and only 4 people turned up, nobody would really know. Okay, now you've got everybody with a smartphone, so they take pictures, and so everything is online. Okay, which means that you have a lot more competition, so to speak, okay? Or people believing that they can do what you do. So I think even just the expression, no more business as usual, frightens a lot of people, okay? Because it takes them out of a comfort zone. Because we are comfortable with what we do, what we know how to do. But then sometimes what has to happen is we have to pivot, we have to change, and we have to adapt. And for a lot of people, that brings up a lot of fear and panic, which I think is okay. I mean, I think you can recognize that without feeling that you're weakened. Actually, I don't know if you agree with me, but I would say it brings out a certain strength in you when you can acknowledge emotions like fear and panic.
I think that I agree with you. And these are human emotions. And it is normal to feel fearful or to panic when we are, dealing or facing a situation that is totally new to us and that we are not prepared for, like what happened now with COVID. I mean, the country, the world was not prepared to, be locked down for 10 weeks. I think it's been for us. And this has been totally new, and it forced us also to behave in a different way, wear masks. And I was joking with a friend today, I think that we have to think of masks as a new accessory that we will have to carry with us, always with us from now on. So when there's something totally new that we are not prepared about, I think it's normal to be fearful.
And we are not out of it.
Initially. Then, of course, you have to, come to terms with your emotions, express your emotions, and move on.
And we're still not out of it. I mean, this is something we are living with at the moment. I think the good news is that if you look at this from a certain point of view, once you've acknowledged the fear and the panic, then I think it's time to start looking at what you can do. And I think one of the things you really can double down on is your integrity, how you show up, okay? I think it says a lot about companies and people in this period, how they treat their clients, their employees, their vendors, and anybody else that they come into contact with, okay? I think this is a calling card that has incredible value, okay? A lot of people they don't show up, believe it or not, okay? Sometimes I've gotten business simply because I was the person that replied to an email, okay? Now you might say, but everybody does that. No, they don't, okay? There's little follow through, okay? So I think that particularly now, if you want to stand out in the marketplace, a lot will come down to, do you show up, okay? Are you somebody that can be depended on? Opportunities. As you know, in this incredible situation, companies like Netflix, Slack, Zoom, they have become even more successful, okay? I think also because of COVID-19, I think even Jeff Bezos at Amazon will become the world's first trillionaire, okay? So it hasn't been, negative and terrible for everybody.
It always happened in times of crisis. There's always been somebody who thrived during crisis.
In fact, I was just reading that there has been a large increase, something like 70%, in skincare products because people are doing Zoom meetings and they want to look their best, okay? So who would have thought that in this crisis, one of the things that would fly off the shelf would be skincare products, okay? So I think that this is giving us an opportunity to look for opportunities, okay? The sad fact is a lot of people are beating a dead horse, okay? They are trying to bring forward an idea that's basically run out of gas, okay? It ran out of gas, a long time ago, and they're almost pushing the car, okay? Trying to get it and to keep it going. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about that you have to move out of your comfort zone, okay? And, look for different customers. Maybe your client today or your market today is not the market or client that was good for you 10 years ago.
Yes, and I'm sure that given the current situation, maybe your clients may be looking for something different.
Absolutely. And they're coming, in my specific case, they're coming from different parts of the world, okay? When I speak to a landlord in Italy, it's interesting because they'll say to me, well, where is your client from? Oh, are they American? And I always say, no, that's not the expat anymore, okay? The world has really changed and other economies have really grown a lot. and they have some very powerful companies, and these companies are moving people around the world. And so I think it's really important for us to make that mental jump, okay? And I think that's hard for a lot of people, okay? When you've had a winning formula, it's challenging to admit to yourself that the formula is tired, okay? And so you might have to completely reinvent what you're doing. That's where you've got to look at what you do well, okay? It's an interesting question, because a lot of the time when I ask people, what do you do well? They don't really have a concise answer. Have you found that?
Yes. And because very often they are focusing on what they should do.
Mm-hmm.
And what your shoulds are not necessarily what you do well. But maybe because this is the way I've always done things, or because this is, the standard way the industry does things, but it's not what you do well.
And also, sometimes what we're doing is the result of what we were told we should do to make money. Okay?
Yes.
And that's not necessarily the way to go now. Okay? I used to work with an accountant at one time, and when I used to talk to him, his eyes used to light up when he talked about numbers. Okay? Mm-hmm. It was, I like numbers too, but not to that degree. Okay? And I could feel the passion. And that's what people have to feel from you. You can tell when someone really loves what they do. Okay? And they're your core skills. Okay? They're the skills that you have that other people may not be able to do. And they are what you need to concentrate on to monetize your services or your products.
Yes, because it's what makes you unique and different from other people who are doing, maybe the who are offering the same kind of services that you are offering. And it's you, and people, people choose you because of your uniqueness.
Yeah, people said that to me when I left, let's call it the generic global mobility, and I moved more into a VIP type of service. People said to me, "You're crazy. You should be taking down your prices, not putting them up." Okay? And I said, there are people that buy a handbag for 48,000 euros. Okay? It's all in the quality of the service, the positioning of the service, and the most important part, which is delivering the service to the right client. Okay? That's so important.
And I have a question about that, because you mentioned, the need to pivot your business, especially now that things are suddenly changing. We are always changing. It's part, of being human beings living on this planet. We are constantly changing and progressing, etc. But of course, this is a new situation, as we were saying, that will change many, many things. And so it's necessary for us to pivot our businesses a little bit. So you did that before COVID. You started offering VIP services before the Corona situation. Did you decide to do that because that was something that your clients were asking about? Did you see there was a trend, or you wanted, to niche down to, a more specific niche? So what was the driver that, in a way, brought you to pivot your business?
I think the thing that moved me in that direction was that what I could see was happening in global mobility, but not just global mobility, is that it was all becoming about price. Okay. And the problem with that is there's always somebody who's going to promise to do more for less. And then what happens is you are on a race to the bottom. Okay. The only way that you can get the business is through price. Okay. And I just felt, I compared it to being in a very crowded swimming pool. Okay. And I could barely breathe. Okay. And I just felt, okay, it's time to step back. It's time to look at what I want to do. And I want to work with clients that don't only look at the price. Okay. Now, Paula, here I want to bring up a very important point, which is there's a big difference between a price question and a price objection. Okay. A client or a prospect can ask you a question about the price, okay? But they're not necessarily objecting to it. They just want more information, okay?
Yeah. They want to know what the price covers and what it includes and what they're getting, okay, for that price. Mm-hmm.
I mean, going back to the example of the 48,000 euro handbag, okay? A question around that will be, well, why is it that expensive? And then they explain to you the craftsmanship and the time that it goes into buying it. The price objection is when they say to you, okay, but I can go down the street and I can buy a similar bag for 400 euros. Okay. And then that's when you have to open up the dialogue with the client or the prospect and say, well, why do you think they can provide the bag or whatever for that price? And it opens up a dialogue that very often gets you on the track with the client where you need to be. Okay. It's like coaching. I mean, I almost prefer to use the word consulting. I consult with people. Okay. Because coaching has become this buzzword, okay? Everybody's a coach, okay? You've got a coach to the coach, okay? Who's a coach to the coach. I mean, it's a crazy sector, okay?
It's a beautiful concept, but it's become a little bit, what's the word? Muddied.
Well, it's the crowded swimming pool, okay? And again, you have to step back and you have to say to yourself, okay, who do I want to coach? Who is my client? Okay. And I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake. Okay. They haven't really identified who is their ideal client. Okay.
Also because there's the fear to miss out.
Well, they don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you are coming into the market with a product or a service, you need to know who you are selling to. Okay. If you look at Toyota, okay, they know very well who their client is, and they advertise on the mediums where their client is, okay? And I think that this is where a lot of people get lost. They don't really sit down and say, okay, who is my client, okay? I was talking to a person recently, and she said, well, I'm a coach for for women. Okay. I said, well, that's good. That's half the population of the world. So there's a large client base. Okay. But I said, but what women? And that's where I could see she got into difficulty, because it was like a Facebook ad, in that she was sort of aiming the ad at everybody. Okay. And so the result was going to be very minimum, because within the group of women, you have a lot of different kinds of women. Okay. Are you coaching to women just starting out? Are you coaching to women who have reached a certain level and need to talk, at a higher level? There's a lot within that group. And so for me, I looked around and I thought, okay, I know who I want to work with. I want to work with people that understand a white glove service. They understand that has a certain cost. And that's who I need to be around. Okay. And that leads me into another thing that we can be doing, which is the proper networking. Okay. Oh, you have to have me back for another episode, because this I could talk about for years. Okay.
That's already in my diary. So another episode on networking. I love that.
But just to give your audience a few little gems, that's connected to the ideal client. Okay. You cannot go to networking events where you do not find your ideal client, or you are around people where they're all trying to sell. There's nobody buying. Have you ever been to one of those? I think I think we all have. Okay. Yeah. And so you have to say to yourself, okay, and it's not easy to do at the beginning, because, you don't want to be rude to anybody or anything, but you have to ask yourself, you say, okay, is this going to be where I'm going to meet my ideal client? Okay. I mean, if you're a hairdresser / beautician, you need to network at events where this is very important to people. Okay. If not, you're going to walk out the door very disillusioned. Okay. And I think that the quality of your networking leads to the quality of your client. Okay. And you have to get very clear about how you run your business. Okay. And that you are not for everybody. You're not.
Exactly.
If you're trying to market to everybody, you are marketing to nobody. Okay.
I totally agree.
And the networking is extremely important, because I believe in the virtual world. I think we can do a lot online. But there's nothing like a face-to-face meeting. Okay. I mean, you and I have met face-to-face. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And while this is a pleasant conversation that we're having today, it doesn't come close to when you and I have met in person. Okay. And so once this COVID-19 has passed, getting out and networking with the right people has to be a part of no more business as usual. Mm-hmm. You've got to network, but you've got to do quality networking. Okay. No going to meetings where there is nothing going on. Okay. And, it was I mean, there are a lot of funny stories about that. I mean, people going to events. I think it was a friend of mine, and she went to a singles event, and I think there was like 50 women and 3 men. Okay, so so
And I assumed that she was looking for a man.
yeah, okay,
Because
exactly.
if
Okay.
she was looking for a woman, she
Oh,
would have been happy.
exactly. In her specific case, she was looking for a man, but it was, so I said to her, I said, well, I don't think that's a great networking place for you. And there are a lot of cases like that. Okay, you go to a networking event and very little comes out of it. Okay, and there again, you've got to step back, ideally working in the calendar year and looking for events where you can turn up and you're possibly the only person doing what you do.
But there must be either potential referral partners for you,
Mm-hmm.
or potential clients.
Or it feeds you on some level.
Okay.
Okay. I went to an event that was put on by the banks. Okay. And that's a sector that's in disruption. Okay.
Mhm.
Because people do things online. I
Yes.
mean, this is a sector that will start leaving a lot of people go. Okay. So it's also good to go to events that are not strictly connected to what you do, but you can pick up ideas, and it's really good to go to events with sectors that are in disruption or are going through some kind of change, because then you can pick up a lot of ideas and you can maybe implement them in your own business. And I think that in all of this challenge that we've got at the moment, these are the things that I think people really should be concentrating on. And I think if you do a little bit of this each day, it will take you towards where you need to go. But you've also got to have the courage sometimes to say, this isn't working anymore. Okay?
No, and as we said also in our conversation for this podcast episode, understandably, people were very focused on the emergency and how to get the funds that the government was making available. It's all understandable, but it's not enough. I mean, it is very important, as you said, to see what needs to be changed in your business and try and start making those changes and going to networking events, maybe in industries that are not your own industry, where you can pick up ideas. This will help you also have a taste of a sense of what is going on, and so how you can pivot your business.
And also, you have to learn from this, really learn. I went through the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. Okay. And what it really taught me was that I need to be much more cash rich. Okay. And I don't mean to bring bad news, but this is not the last emergency. Okay. There's going to be another one. Okay. I don't know what shape or form it's going to take, but there's going to be another emergency. And one of the things you have to have is a financial cushion, so that you can weather the storm much easier. Okay. Because if you just kind of passively sit through this emergency, when the next emergency comes, you're not going to be prepared. And you're going to look, and it's fine to take advantage of assistance that the government offers.
course.
But what do you do if the government doesn't offer you any assistance? Okay. And, we could start to see that happen as governments start to, reduce the money they give to people. So I think that it's teaching us to be prepared. It's teaching us to show up. It's teaching us to look for new opportunities. It's teaching us to tap into our core skills. And it's teaching us to increase the quality of our networking.
And this is what being an entrepreneur is about, after all.
And it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
This is what I tell people, being an entrepreneur, a lot of the time it requires, the spirit of a warrior almost. Okay. And, if you don't have that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's, we all have to be, how can I say it? We have to be real with ourselves.
Aware of what we want and what we are, what is important for us and what we are looking for. Because as you said, maybe, I don't want to be a warrior.
I don't want to be a warrior. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I mean, on a very personal note, I decided a long time ago, I didn't want to be a parent. Okay. It was not an experience I wanted to have in this lifetime. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to do the same with running a business or any other choice. It's because being an entrepreneur means that you have to sometimes go inside and find that last drop of courage and energy.
So true.
To keep going. Okay. It might mean that you use your last €100 to buy business cards instead of buying groceries. Okay. And this is where I want to take my hat off to you for doing your podcast, because I know the amount of work that it takes. And a lot of people talk about doing a podcast, but it never happens. Okay. So I want to say to you, my hat is off to you for getting those episodes out.
Yeah. And, I had my moments when, moments that, as you said, you can either decide that, you let these moments overwhelm you, or, you take them as lessons and opportunities and see, the changes that you want to make. This podcasts want simply to be, an encouraging voice, and sometimes also tough love.
Mm-hmm.
So that, people understand that it is possible to create the prosperity that you are looking for in your life. And prosperity means many different things to different people. But, it takes the courage to look inside yourself for the last drop of energy, courage, or whatever, honesty, to say, this does not reflect me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong in changing what you are doing and say, you know what? I want to change business. I want to change my business because it does no longer reflect me.
Or the market. Or the market has changed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you were saying about banks, probably we will have no currency as we know it anymore. There will just be virtual currency, and we really don't need even to step into a bank anymore.
there are a lot of jobs, a lot of sectors that are going to either disappear or they're going to be reduced significantly.
But at the same time, there will be many new jobs and sectors.
Of course. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, but opportunity requires a lot of work. Okay. And that's the part where we, lose our way sometimes. Okay. And we live in a world now that's teaching people a lot of messages like you can run a multi-million-dollar business sitting on the sand with a laptop. Okay. Or you can become an influencer overnight and you will get all these endorsements and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, Paula, is that the people who are successfully doing this, they're putting a lot of work into it.
We just see the tip of the iceberg.
Yes. I mean, if you're a major influencer, you have to create content. Okay. And I mean, we are in the world now where if you don't give the hungry followers content, they unfollow you. Okay. In 2 seconds. Okay. It's not like how it was, 30, 40 years ago. It's very different now. And so people will say, well, I want to be an influencer. And that's fine. Today it is a job. I mean, you can make a career of being an influencer.
But you have to make the effort.
And you have to be putting out content that people are interested in. Mm-hmm. If people yawn, when they see your content, you're not going to be very successful. Okay? I mean, it requires a lot of work. And that's where you have to be honest with yourself. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine.
Yes, because you may, not necessarily like it.
Or you might just realize that it requires too much effort.
And you don't want to do it. Yes, of course.
And responsibility, because as you begin to grow, you have to start bringing other people into the picture. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, at the beginning when you start out, you are you're wearing 1,000 hats. Okay. Mm-hmm. But at a certain point, you realize that if you want that to change and you want to grow, you have to start at least hiring contractors, okay? If not actual employees, okay? And then you start having responsibilities, okay? You have people that, say, well, where's my salary? And so it's okay to, or you might say, I'm just happy at this level. I don't want to go beyond this. Okay?
That's fine.
And that's absolutely fine. And I think that that's why it's good to encourage people to think and to go on that road of self-discovery and help them to understand that it may not be for them. They may have to change completely, or they might actually be doing something that is really working very well. They just have to get the numbers up even more. So I think we've given your audience a few things to think about.
Yeah, good food for thought. So just to wrap up, what is a message that you want to leave my audience with?
The message that I would leave your audience with is you have the power to do whatever that means to you. Okay? If that is to sit and binge watch Netflix all the time, you have the power to do that. Okay? If you want to build a multi-million-dollar euro business, you also have the power to do that. the choice is ours, essentially. And what I would like to leave your audience with is the best way to diminish fear and panic is action. Okay?
Yes, so important. It is not enough, to say, I want to do that, so I have read about this very cool thing that I can do. You have to do it.
You have to do it. And I mean, it can happen to all of us that one day we wake up and we kind of feel, oh my God, the business is, it needs to do better. It needs to generate more funds. But the only way that happens is you start putting things into action. But you're not going to get the tree tomorrow if you plant the seed today. I went to an event in Vienna. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it's today that I'm getting the results of going to that event. So
the message is act. Think of, how you can pivot your business if you are in business so that you can serve your customers better in a more authentic way and, giving them what they really need. Be very clear about who you want to serve. And remember that change is constant. We are constantly called to changes in life and in business. And so take these changes as opportunities.
Absolutely.
And on that note, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Paola.
For your time, for all the very interesting insights and experience that you shared with me and your audience. And remember, we have another appointment.
Okay.
On networking.
Okay. Thank you, Paola.
Thank you so much.